The BRSCC BMW Compact Cup is brought to you by Nankang Tyres and Gas Shocks.
Sunny Snetterton in Norfolk Place hosted the third meeting of the Nankang Tyre BMW Compact Cup for 2017. James Gordon has a commanding lead in the championship, but the rest of the table has been thrown into disarray after a dramatic second meeting at Alton Park. Why was it so dramatic? Here's race commentator Andy McEwan to talk you through it.
James Gordon's hopes of repeating his Silverstone double lasted just 2 corners after contact with Ian Jones. It was worse to come for Jones though, just moments later. This left James Brown to fight over the lead with Owen Hunter, eventually holding him off to take his first ever victory. Gordon and Jones were back out for race 2, with Gordon taking a commanding lead while Jones's battered car fell apart. He was passed by Hunter and then Dawson, whilst Gordon McMillan was in the wars again. But it was a comfortable win for Gordon, while Jones was eventually disqualified for his mechanical issues. So Gordon maintains therefore his lead ahead of Brown and Hunter, while misfortune sees early contenders Daly and Jones plummet down the order to 12th and 22nd respectively. The shake-up at the front had an impact on the points table, but several drivers benefited from the drama to claim their career best finishes in the championship. Former production BMW champion Matt Parks scored his first top 5 finish in race 1 at Alton Park and has finished in the top 10 in every race so far, an impressive set of results in his first full season. Leading novice Ben Huntley's 7th place in race 2 was his 3rd top 10 of the year, and he showed good pace on Saturday here at Snetterton with the 3rd fastest time in free practice. After doubling up on 6th places, his Alton Park rival Mark Skeets is another one to watch this weekend.
We don't qualify so well, but I seem to race pretty good. So, yeah, I get off the line quite well, make up a few spaces there. A few guys, obviously, there's a bit of an accident at the start, which helped a bit. But, yeah, we're racing well this year with the help of AW Track Sport. We seem to be going in the right direction. Qualifying didn't go fantastically well. I think I'm 10th and 11th, I think, for the 2 races coming up. Again, it's all down to my start again, make up, try and get into the top 5 and do, just do my usual thing and just make a cracking start.
And a hard-charging Giles Dawson took his first podium finish in race 2, making up for the disappointment of this moment in the first race.
It should have been a better weekend. We went off in the first race while we were challenging for the lead. Driver error, I made a big mistake. Would have been lovely to get the first win, and then the 3rd in the second race. That was my first podium in Compact Cup, so I wasn't going to attack Owen too hard, and he deserves it this year. Spent the winter rebuilding the car. I would think probably more than 300 hours gone into rebuilding the car. The car's working very well. I'm driving better than I have in a long time, but went away, had a family, and having to remember how to drive again.
Well, here's the grid for the first race then here at Snetterton. James Gordon's 3rd pole position of the year with a time under the lap record from 2014. Ben Huntley is 3rd, that's his best qualifying so far. Tom Griffiths matches his best qualifying with 7th alongside Matt Parks. Sam Carrington-Yates though with penalised 5 places. Tim Scott-Andrews' highest starting position so far is 16th. Aaron Morgan makes his return after an engine failure at the first round, whilst Peter Dell celebrates his birthday here this weekend at Snetterton. Once more, it's a packed grid of Compact Cup cars, 30 cars about to line up for the first race here in what are very warm conditions at Snetterton. So the cars lining up on the grid then ahead of our first race here at Snetterton. James Gordon and Steve Daly, who have been going toe-to-toe all year long, really. Lining up on the front row, Ben Huntley, though, one to watch for, his best qualifying position so far. Red lights go on then. We're about to go racing around the Snetterton 300 circuit. Away we go. Who makes the best start from the front row of the grid? Looks fairly even match so far. Everyone else is way cleanly, but it is Stephen Daly from the outside of row number 1 who gets the lead down towards Richards. Gordon slots through into 2nd. Everyone else trying to be 3rd. It's Giles Dawson on the inside who will take it, and there is Ben Huntley. Now Ben Huntley started 3rd, he just flashed through somewhere about 20th or so dramas early on for Ben, unfortunately. What a shame that is after such a promising qualifying result. on board with Tom Langford as we make our way down towards the Wilson hairpin. Cars scattering left and right as we try to pick up some positions. That's Keith Towers to our left in the red, white and blue car. He chops across our nose down towards the left-hander at Palmer's. In fact, Keith Towers had a really good run out of the hairpin there, almost challenged Sam Carrington-Yates, who's a bit further down than you might expect. Only qualified 11th, did Sam. He was in the wars last time out. Of course, that was by virtue partly of that penalty he received at Alton Park. But he will be looking to try and make further progress down towards the left-hander at Agostini. We go. Towers, he's now attacking Sam Carrington-Yates, really attacking him up the inside there, right over the curb. Can he make the move stick on the exit of the corner? Oh no, Sam Carrington-Yates came straight across his bows and makes sure that he occupies the inside ground down towards the left-hander at Hamilton's. Very tricky corner this one. You've got to get the car set up nicely now for the right-hander at Oggie's, which is where the leaders have just exited, and James Gornall not letting Steve Daly get away here, is he? As they make their way out through onto the back straight, and he's looking for a good run out here, a bit wide there for Steve Daly over the curbs. This is Gornall's chance. He's closing all the time, gets a whiff of a slipstream, pulls to the side, and look at the side draft he got there. He pulled down onto the rear right quarter panel of Steve Daly's car, and that has the effect of slowing down the other car and giving you effectively a bit of a speed boost as they disappear out of shot. We see the onboards, and yes, through goes James Gornall. He stopped the car through Nelson. He runs a bit wide though. Daly tries to fight back, but there just isn't the room, and so Daly will slot back in behind. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the screen, the Carrington-Yates dicing is still going on as he makes his way out of Nelson. He's almost getting squeezed onto the grass there. That opens the door beautifully for Keith Towers, and Towers, I think, will go through at the bomb hole. Yes, he does, and Sam Carrington-Yates really ruining that grid penalty, I think, because without it, he'd have been right up there with the leaders. So, speaking of the leaders, they make their way back through the left-hander at Murray's onto the pit straight. They complete the first lap here on the Snetterton 300 circuit. Across the start-finish line we go. 15-minute races these, of course. We're going to get about 7 laps in, I think, over the duration. And Steve Daly now really needs to try and stay in the wheel tracks of James Gornall. Owen Hunter, by the way, is into 3rd place now, ahead of Giles Dawson, with James Nutbrown looking to be in 5th position. They're all starting to pair off a bit now at the front of the field. So Gornall and Daly, the two men who really are expected to battle the championship this year, and that won't do Daly's chance of a race win any good. He runs very wide at Riches. Now we're back on board with Ben Huntley, and now he's got some sort of issue with the gearbox there. It won't change gear. What happened at the start? Is that going to be linked, I wonder? Out of 1st, into 2nd. Then a bit of contact with Owen Hunter. And it possibly as a result of that contact, he missed the gear change, didn't he? And it didn't go into 3rd, and now it's sort of stuck in 4th gear, I think. So issues for Ben, and that's a real shame after, as I said, a really promising qualifying result and a circuit that he clearly feels pretty comfortable on. So outside the top 10, we can see in the bottom there, we've got Griffiths, Keith Towers, Carrington-Yates dropped 2 places down to 13th. That is Jim Barrett. He's rejoining from the pit lane. What's happened to him? Contact down at the Agostini hairpin there with the number 63 machine, which is Tim Scott Andrews. On board now with Keith Towers as we make our way through Brundle and Nelson, and that is Gordon McMillan in front of us in the red and black car. And that was Tom Griffiths, I think, sliding up the inside of him. Yes, it was. So Tom Griffiths, the black and yellow number 16 car, making some nice progress. He's now into 10th place. McMillan, Towers and Carrington-Yates bearing down on him. Can Sam Carrington-Yates pick up a place here? He's up the inside. Lovely move that was from Sam Carrington-Yates through Coram. And once you get to the inside there, the corner just goes on and on and on forever, and you're almost guaranteed to make the move stick. Back with the leading contenders. There goes the fight for 3rd, and this is the fight for 6th between Matt Parks and Ian Jones. Now, Ian Jones, you wouldn't think that car was involved in a monster shunt last time out at Alton Park. It was a bit of a rolling wreck for race 2, but he's put in the hours since then to get the car fixed back up. Peter Dell, meanwhile, with a bit of front-end damage, unfortunately, is heading into the pit lane. What happened to him? Oh, loses the rear of the car and bang, straight into the side. Aaron Morgan did very well to get the car stopped as well, didn't he? Peter Dell, well, not such a happy birthday for him, unfortunately, so far. He'll be hoping for better in race 2. David Sharp has been in the pit lane now. What's happened to him? Lots of drama, hasn't there, early on? And that is David to the left, just slowing down the long Bentley straight, so some sort of mechanical issue there. This is the fight for 9th. So Sam Carrington-Yates has worked his way through nicely now into 9th place, and David May having a great run in 10th, with Tom Griffiths now slipped down to 11th place. This is the best showing we've seen from David May so far. Just behind that battle, this is on board with Tom Langford, heading down towards the Wilson hairpin. He He's chasing down Keith Towers, who is chasing down the Griffiths, May and Carrington Yates scrap. You can see there in front of us, actually, grandstand view of that. David May on the inside, the left-hand side, and to the outside is Griffiths. They make a bit of contact going into Palmer's, and Griffiths gets 2 wheels on the dirt. He did well to save that one. They almost could have both ended up fired off into the barriers there, but they managed to save it. So that settles out with David May holding on to that 10th place. Carrington Yates now in 9th. Will try and chase down the cars in front if at all possible. Gordon McMillan, you can see there, a long way back. What's that? 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th place for Gordon, who ran really well at Alton Park before that contact with Carrington Yates. And ironically, you can see Carrington Yates is the man who's just escaping now from the front of this queue of cars. Up towards Hamilton they go. Oh, and that's Alan Caulfield, who had a rotation at Cascades at Alton Park last time out on the first lap, and now he's had another moment at Agostini. Whether that was self-inflicted or not, I'm not too sure, but he's lost lots of places, and that takes him well and truly out of contention. So, James Gordle has been well and truly able to escape from Steve Daly, hasn't it? The car behind him is David Sharp, who is a lap down, so no pressure at all here from James, unlike the races last year when Ian Jones was a real thorn in his side, and those two had a race that went right down to the wire. David May, unfortunately, though, who was on for a really good result, has been off the road. What has happened there? That looks like the exit of Agostini. Keith Towers up the inside of him in their battle for 10th position. They make a bit of contact. They both run wide. David May gets on the grass. Did well to save it, but that's not where he spun, is it? He rejoined just in front of Gordon McMillan, and at the next corner at Hamilton's, he loses the rear of the car all on his own, and I would suspect that the dirt he picked up on the tyres at the previous corner had something to do with that. Keith Towers is still entertaining us all, though, because he's now battling away with Tom Langford for his newly found 10th place, and Langford goes through as Keith Towers made a bit of a mess there at Nelson. So changes up and down the order right the way down to the final lap, but not for the race lead. James Gordon makes his way out of the final corner, and he is about to take another race victory. This will be win number 4 from 5 races this year. It's been a truly dominant start to the season. James Gordon wins race 1 here at Snetterton. Stephen Daly, though, does the best that he could do in that race, I think, and takes solid points for second place. Third place is going to go the way, by the way, of Owen Hunter. This is the fight further back for 5th place, though. James Brown is 4th, and Ian Jones is going to come through just about in 5th, ahead of Matthew Parks after their race-long dice, but Jones did find a way through in the latter stages. Mark Skeets is 7th. 8th place then for Sam Carrington Yates, 9th Tom Griffiths and 10th Tom Langford. But James Gordle it is, with another race win and another fastest lap. Return to form for Steve Daly in 2nd. Best ever results for the pair of Thomases, Griffiths and Langford, after a great battle with Towers and May. Keith Towers there, 11th place. Best result so far for Tim Scott Andrews and David Ashforth as well. Alan Caulfield recovered to 18th after his spin, whilst Ben Huntley spent the entire race in 4th gear, but still limped home to a 20th place finish. David Sharp was 28th after his mechanical issues right at the back.
I didn't get the best start, and Stephen actually nailed his start, so he obviously got ahead of me. And then I just had to pick my point, and he didn't get the best run onto the back straight, which gave me the opportunity to go to his right-hand side. And then there was a little bit of an overlap as we went into the S's, but I liked the car around there, so I was confident it was going to pay off.
Definitely nailed the start, but as everyone knows in motorsport, it's not won in the first lap. I was up on James, but once I got to the back straight, suffered by a little bit of understeer, so I think I warmed my back tyres up a bit too much for the start. Suffered later on in the first lap with understeer because the back tyres were warm. Plan for race 2, make a change, try and get some more front end grip, and hopefully try and mount a challenge on James.
It was a pretty hard push to keep that. Giles was flying until the last lap and unfortunately had to pull off, but yeah, I'm very pleased with that because James and Steve are in a league of their own this weekend.
So now what do you plan for race 2?
I plan to do much the same, but hopefully I'll have a bit more breathing space behind me for the majority of the race.
Well, as the sun comes out now here at Snetterton, we are prepared for what should be a very, very close second encounter. Join us after the break to see what happens. Hello and welcome back to Snetterton, where race 2 of the weekend for the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup is about to get underway in picture-perfect conditions. The grid for this one based upon the second fastest times from qualify, which means it's once more James Gordle and Steve Daly on row 1. Giles Dawson, though, will be a non-starter from row 2 after he suffered a late mechanical issue in the first race. Keep an eye as well on James Brown and Ian Jones. They should move forward from row number 4. So, James Gordle once more in row 1 got his 4th win of the year in the first race. For Steve Daly to keep his championship hopes alive, he really has to try and beat the reigning champion in this race. The lights go out, away we go, and it looked like Daly made another good start from the outside of row 1 as he's done what he did in the first race and snatched the lead. Yes, he has. So, Daly gets the lead down towards Riches. Gordle slots into 2nd. For 3rd, it's side by side between Owen Hunter and Sam Carrington-Yates, and Sam, I think, will make that stick on the inside line. Hold your breath, let's hope they all get through. Riches in one piece. It seems like they have, and now they make the run down towards the Wilson hairpin. On board here with Ben Huntley, who's got all of his gears working for this one, but he's been swamped a bit there. Around the outside came Mark Skeets, very late on the brakes. Nice move there from Mark. Matt Parks there to our right hand side. He and Mark Skeets have been inseparable so far this season, it seems. Ben Huntley slots in behind them, but it is Steve Daly who has the race lead. Now remember, in race 1, Steve led for half a lap and then said that he suffered a bit of understeer going out onto the back straight, ran out wide and ended up losing traction on the run down the Bentley straight, and that cost him any chance really of taking the race victory. Has he been able to make the changes necessary on the car ahead of this race to possibly take the fight to Gordle all race distance? Let's wait and see. Yeah, shot there of Aaron Morgan, coming through. And he is running just in front of James Stanbury. Keith Towers, meanwhile, is heading through the left-hander at Hamilton's, and he is dicing away here and diving up the inside, in fact, of the 63 car of Tim Scott Andrews. That's a nice move on the brakes in towards Oggies. Through the long right-hander and then towards the Bentley straight. And these midfield scraps within the Compact Cup, always exciting, always dramatic. You never quite know what's going to happen next, do you? It's such a competitive field, but the leaders look have checked out already. Steve Daly holding on to the lead for the time being over James Gordle in 2nd. Then it's Hunter from Carrington-Yates, and the battling getting very intense indeed as they make their way down into that far end of the circuit. Through the right-hander at Nelson, there's the Mark Skeets battle again, and Skeets gets edged out wide over the grass. Can he find a way back in line? Oh, it's all getting very, very dicey here, is it? There's been a contact with Ben Huntley. Skeets sideways and saves it. Nicely done, and didn't even lose the place. Ben Huntley possibly backed off after the contact to make sure he didn't gain an advantage. So he does back through towards the end of what's been a dramatic first lap, but Steve Daly has held on to the lead. So I think we've got a real race on our hands this time. James Gordle ought to be able to stay with Steve Daly, but can he find a way through? Down the pit straight we go. He's in the slipstream. He's gaining all the time. Pulls to the outside line down towards the first corner, and there is going to be a challenge for the lead this time. Further back, battling continues, but no, Daly has hung on. Does he run wide on the exit? The defensive line on the way into Riches can sometimes hold you up on the exit of the corner, but no, I think Daly should still be okay. Back on board with the 2nd place man and the championship leader, James Gordle, who can really afford to settle in behind Steve Daly here and wait and see if an opportunity presents itself later on. He doesn't need to take any huge risks. Further back though, lots of risks being taken. They were on board with Tom Langford. David Sharp comes charging around the outside. Remember, he went a lap down after a pit stop in race 1, trying to make some nice progress in this one. Tom Langford's been in the thick of the dicing all day long, really, hasn't he? It shows his gratitude there to one of the drivers around him. Leaders back down towards the left-hander at Agostini. Slippery surface flag in the background there, so there's some sort of debris or fluid on the track. 3rd place Hunter, 4th is Carrington-Yates. 5th place for James Nutbrown, meanwhile, so he's having a good race. That looks like Ian Jones behind him in 6th. Yes, it is, the Crocodile livery car. On board with Simon Welch, meanwhile. Oh, and that's what happened to Jim Barrett. Oh, dear. Jim got turned into a slide by, I think that was James Stanbury, wasn't it, going through the right-hander. And this was Ben Huntley versus Mark Skeets. They make a bit of contact there through Nelson, and then they just run side by side down towards the bomb hole. Skeets just turned in, and they leant on each other, and Mark did a really good job of hanging onto the car there, the Irishman, and even held onto the place. Now, can Steve Daly hang on to the race lead, though? James Gordle is right with him now as they're going towards Coram. Split screen in use once more. And you can see the very differing lines here through Coram Corner. James Gordle takes the much tighter approach, whereas Daly carries a bit more momentum on a wider line. He's not getting near the apex, but he's able to keep a bit less lock in the steering and therefore keep the momentum up. Where it hurts him, though, is on the exit of Murray's, because when he went into Murray's on a tighter line, couldn't carry as much momentum through the corner, and so Gordle's able to close back in with a slipstream down the pit straight. There's not much to choose between these two, is there? Even in a straight line with a slipstream, Gordle isn't really able to pull alongside. He goes from the outside back to the inside. He's a bit too far back there. They don't really do that much braking into Riches in these cars, so there's not much scope for overtaking. So James will have to wait for a slightly better opportunity. This is the fighting further back that's just as intense as ever. David May there, just behind Yates. So it's Yates, May, Langford and Sharp fighting over 14th place. And plenty of other cars, in fact, not far back either. On board with Thomas Langford, chasing down David May. for what will be 14th position. Down towards Rich's corner again. He's in the slipstream. Is there going to be a route through on the inside? No, David May's got that one defended, so Langford goes to the outside line, tries to cut back maybe on the exit. Is there going to be enough momentum on the exit of the corner? He's closing, but David May saw him coming, pulls across to the inside, but then Langford sees a gap on the inside anyway, but David May is later on the brakes. Is he too late? Well, Langford gives him a bit of a helping hand into the corner, but look, it didn't help him, did it? He ran wide and David Sharp went through, so good opportunistic driving that from David. He read the situation in front, he saw that those two cars were getting a bit close and that they might end up holding each other up, and that's exactly what happened, and Sharp now is straight onto the tail of David May to try and take 14th place away. Back through Palmer's, down towards Agostini they go once more. This is one of the better overtake opportunities on the track. Is Sharp close enough to have a go? He might be tempted into thinking about it, but no, stays on the racing line. Car's very evenly matched in a straight line, but also under braking. Alan Caulfield comes through, having a decent run. And there is Peter Dell's car with a bit of yellow tank tape over the front, been hastily repaired after its dramas in the first race. Now, black and white warning flags going out for Mark Skeets in the number 42 car and Ben Huntley in the number 96. These two have spent the entire races at Alton Park together, the entire first race here together, and they're back together in this one, and they're getting pretty friendly now, aren't they? Look, Ben Huntley waving encouragement to Mark Skeets, but they've both been going a little bit too wide and exceeding the track limits. This is what happened a few laps ago. Yes, well, that'll be exceeding the track limits. Ben Huntley went for an audacious move up the inside of Mark Skeets, couldn't slow the car down, cut the corner, gained the place, but then sportsmanlike wave Skeets back through, but now he's attacking again around the outside in towards Rich's corner. Will he go right round the outside? It's a brave man who tries that. Sensibly comes back to the inside, but they're both sideways. Brilliant car control from both of them, and Huntley will cope through. I think Ben enjoyed that one. So the race leaders come through Coram for the final time. James Gordon is right there with Steve Daly again. He's closed back in, down towards the final corner. Daly defends on the inside line. Jiggy will try and get a switch back here on the exit, but he runs a bit too deep, and I think that will kill his momentum now onto the pit straight. Steve Daly, it's a bit of a drag race to the line, but I think Daly should be able to hang on to take his first race victory of the season. Down towards the start-finish line they come. Checkered flag for Stephen Daly. He wins here at Snetterton. Second place goes the way of James Gornall, and it's a long wait for third, but it will be Owen Hunter who finishes off the podium position. Sam Carrington-Yates fourth, James Nutbrown is fifth. This is the battle between Huntley and Skeets, and Huntley will manage to hang on after that brilliant move he made late on up at Rich's, and Huntley will come through in 8th place, Mark Skeets 9th, and I think that Keith Towers, yes, in the background, will come home in 10th. It's Stephen Daly, though, who takes the race victory here in race 2 at Snetterton. He'll close the championship lead now to James Gornall. It's his first win, Steve Daly, since July last year. Gornall is second, but sets the fastest lap, whilst Hunter, Carrington-Yates and Nutbrown get more solid points. Keith Towers has his best finish so far in his Compact Cup career. David May did well there in 13th, and Peter Dell gets his season best finish, which makes up a little bit for his DNF earlier on. 27 finishes, the only retirement was Jim Barrett after his early collision.
It's always a nice feeling to walk away with the win. James put me under serious pressure there. I mean, I don't think I've ever been under that sort of pressure before. I mean, last year he put me under lots of pressure as well, but that was extraordinary. I'd just like to say a big thank you to my dad from Casey Motorsport and Graham Adamson for coming down this weekend. We've put 110% into the car this weekend, and this is the result we've got.
I was right up his backside the whole way, really putting a lot of pressure on. He had some great speed, and I couldn't quite get it to grip in the places I needed to do to attack him down the straight or the next corner. So unfortunately for me, he did just a good enough job there to keep me at bay. So well done to Stephen. It's been a very good weekend still. I would have liked to have won, having taken pole for that race, but you can't win them all, can you?
Yeah, very pleased with that. I mean, I didn't think I had the pace this weekend to be on the podium, but I've managed to do it twice. So yeah, very pleased. Sam was a lot better than me on the brakes going into the hairpins, but I managed to just sort of edge him out where I needed to, and I didn't give him a chance to get in my slipstream going up the 2 straight. So yeah, I was quick enough where I needed to be, but yeah, he definitely kept me on my toes.
Here is how the championship standings look. James Gornall then is now 19 points clear of Stephen Daly. Now the drop scores have come into effect. Owen Hunter stays third with James Nutbrown, Matt Parks and Giles Dawson still very much in touch.
Another fantastic weekend for the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup is in the history books, and well done to James Gornall and Stephen Daly for taking the victories. Next time the BMWs will head out to Castle Coombe, so make sure you join us then for more fantastic action from the Compact Cup. See you there.